Coming up next on KPBS Evening Edition, advocates of medical marijuana are fighting back, suing the federal Justice Department for cracking down on dispensaries. They say the feds can't tell California what to do.
And a special investigation into the sex trade in San Diego. Police say girls as young as 12 are being targeted by pimps. KPBS Evening Edition starts now.
Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Joanne Farian.
And I'm Dwayne Brown. A homecoming vote makes national news and leads to hate calls to a San Diego high school.
But first, the latest on San Diego Unified's budget worries.
We've been hearing the possibility the district is facing the real chance of running out of money to pay its bills or insolvency by next fall. Now, Board of Education members are coming up with their own plans on how to solve the financial problems. Today, Trustee Scott Barnett presented his plan to reporters, and KPBS education reporter Kyla Calvert was there. She joins us from the news center. So what is Barnett proposing, Kyla, and why is he doing it now?
Well, first, his plan includes several things that are already in employee contracts for the fall, adding back 5 furlough days to the school calendar and allowing some significant pay increases. But then come the concessions. Employees would pay in for their health insurance, which they don't currently do for themselves or their dependents, and employees making over $25,000 a year would take a 10% pay cut. But if all went according to Barnett's plan, that pay cut would be temporary because he also wants to see a $50 parcel tax on the November 2012 ballot. And if voters accepted that tax, the pay decrease would be reversed. And he says that he's bringing the plan forward now in response to what he sees as his board colleagues' unwillingness to make what he's calling tough decisions. Last week, they rejected several plans that would have cut back student transportation to save money, and it looks like they're going to curtail a plan to close or consolidate up to a dozen schools across the district.
So the school closure plan may be off the table. What has the response been so far to Barnett's plan?
Well, Board Vice President John Lee Evans held his own press conference immediately after Barnett's, and he started by saying that he rejected the idea that board members hadn't been making tough decisions, and we have him here listing several of the examples that he gave.
We have increased class size. We have reduced support staff. We have shortened the school year. We have cut academic programs. We have cut busing dramatically. We have eliminated millions in outside contracts. We have eliminated library and many other programs or reduced them to a great degree. And we have laid off hundreds and hundreds of teachers and other staff.
But Evans also said that there was a parcel tax on the ballot in 2010, and it only got 51% of voter support. And a tax like that has to have a 2/3 vote to go into effect. I also spoke with Bill Freeman, who's the president of the teachers union, and he said it's too early to be asking unions for concessions, and that he called Barnett's plan grandstanding. He said that Barnett's been asking for a teacher compensation reduction since he was elected last year, and this is more of the same. So I asked Barnett how likely he thought it was that any of the parts of his plan would go into effect, and here's what he had to say.
It may not work, but nothing is working. We're heading towards the edge of a cliff, and I have a responsibility to propose options which will save the district.
KPBS education reporter Kyla Calvert.
San Diego school officials say one local high school has been flooded with hate calls and emails after students elected a same-sex couple as homecoming king and queen. Rebecca Ariano was elected as the school's first female homecoming king last Friday. The next day, her girlfriend, Haley Adams, was elected homecoming queen. The story received national attention, and now the school's getting angry calls from around the country. School Superintendent Bill Koba says it's bullying.
What is essentially disappointing is that adults who have contacted the school, many of whom are not even San Diego residents, are demonstrating such a lack of tolerance and are presenting such a negative role model for children with their hateful comments.
Koba says if the calls and emails Patrick Henry High School is receiving came from students, they would be disciplined.
San Diego police arrested another 4 people over the weekend in the Occupy San Diego movement at the Civic Center downtown. That brings the number of arrests so far to 54. Many of them came early Friday morning. One San Diego State graduate student says she spent 13 hours in county jail. Ashley Wardell was charged with unlawful assembly.
They were trying to send a message to us that prison sucks, and so they were trying to scare us into not going back, but every single one of the protesters that were arrested came back to occupy the next night, so it didn't work.
She was actually among 55 people arrested in total. They were charged with a range of offenses, including illegal lodging, unlawful assembly, and resisting police. Protesters are allowed to gather at the Civic Center, but cannot set up tents or sleep in the area.
Every day in San Diego County, underage girls are bought and sold, victims of sex trafficking. KPBS investigative reporter Amitha Sharma has been documenting the issue in her series, Broken Souls. We want to play some sound now of one of the women Amitha interviewed for her series, a woman named Lisa who was 16 when she was forced into prostitution.
And then I see like this old white man walking towards me, and he said my fake name. And I felt like I was gonna throw up. And then we went in the room. Then he began to like I'd never been like touched like that before.
KPBS investigative reporter Amitha Sharma joins me from the News Center to talk more about her series. Amitha, we just heard from Lisa. Tell us more about how old she was when she got involved with this and how she became involved.
Lisa was 16 years old. Throughout high school, Lisa and her best friend didn't quite feel like they belonged. They didn't feel like they fit in. And then one day her best friend leaves. She moves away, and Lisa feels all alone. Then one day, her best friend contacts her, invites her to a party at a hotel. Lisa shows up. Just her friend, her best friend, and her boyfriend are there. They drug her. They take pictures of her in her underwear, and they post the photographs online, offering her up for sex, for sale, $200 per guy. And by the time the evening is over, Lisa has slept with 6 men ranging in ages from 30 to 70 years old. And Lisa's story, unfortunately, is not uncommon. This is how girls are lured into the sex trafficking business. They are tricked, they are coerced, or they are forced into it.
KPBS reporter Amitha Sharma, and of course we'll have more on this story later. We'll be speaking with a detective with the Innocence Lost Task Force, and you can see all of Amitha's stories at kpbs.org.
The latest economic forecast for San Diego says more jobs are on the way, but not enough. The report from UCLA projects San Diego and the rest of California will add jobs over the next year, but it says there won't be enough to bring the unemployment rate down. The forecast is also bleak for the housing market. Weak job growth is apparently discouraging new buyers, and home foreclosure sales are keeping prices down. Has the federal government gone too far in cracking down on medical marijuana? Joanne and her guest are talking about it at the Evening Edition Roundtable.
Advocates of medical marijuana in California are suing the Obama administration over the federal crackdown on pot dispensaries. Just weeks ago, federal attorneys sent letters to the dispensaries warning them to close their doors or face prosecution. Here's U.S. Federal Attorney Laura Duffy speaking to KPBS reporter Katie Orr earlier this month.
This industry is becoming more along the lines of drug trafficking in large part than it is about providing medicine to the sick. Dispensaries, they're often called. They're marijuana stores that are open storefronts. People can come in, they can receive marijuana in exchange for, you call it a donation, a payment, whatever you want to call it. That's something different than a collective. And those marijuana stores are not authorized under state law.
Joining me now is Eugene Davidovich. He is the San Diego Community Liaison for Americans for Safe Access, the organization that filed a lawsuit last week against the Department of Justice. Thanks for being here, Eugene.
It's a pleasure to be here, Joanne. Thank you.
So tell us why your group is suing.
Because legitimate patients in the state of California deserve access to a medicine that helps them, and the federal government should not be overstepping their authority and attempting to regulate how health and safety codes in the state of California are applied.
That's really the basis of the suit, isn't it?
It really is.
The 10th Amendment, which is a federal state rights issue?
Yes, it's a federal versus state rights issue, and we've seen countless times in countless cases that federal law does not trump state law on this issue. In fact, states do have the right to regulate medical marijuana themselves, including issuing the county ID cards and the state-issued ID cards, and that lawsuit that our very own San Diego County lost.
So remind us what happened in the late 90s with Prop 215, what that was designed to do.
In 1996, Proposition 215 allowed legitimate patients to have that have a recommendation from their physician to not be prosecuted against possessing, transporting, cultivating medical cannabis for their own medical conditions.
And I think a lot of our viewers will recall this was really a campaign. It was a Compassionate Use Act. I think that's the name of the proposition. A lot of AIDS patients at the time, cancer patients going through chemotherapy, marijuana was seen as something that would help their appetite. Does the federal government have a point now, though? We hear, I mean, it's not uncommon to hear how easy it is to get a medical marijuana card for other things now, like insomnia or anxiety. Do they have a point? Does Laura Duffy have a point to say some of these places may not be as legitimate, or maybe they're not providing the same function that they were originally intended for?
Well, you know, in 2003, when Senate Bill 420 passed in the California State Legislature, we saw a lot more clarification about what Proposition 215 created. Since then, we've had the Attorney General create guidelines, an actual roadmap that talks about patients being able to collectively cultivate medical marijuana together to provide for each other, and that collectives are merely organizations that facilitate transactions between members. So, in fact, dispensaries are legal. In fact, patients can congregate and associate together, whether it is through a storefront or a delivery method or whatever that may be. Not everyone can cultivate their medicine. And with regards to the actual conditions that patients are using it for, I really believe that that should be something that is between a doctor and the patient themselves. We see abuses in the pharmaceutical industry every single day, and abuses need to be addressed by the medical department, by the doctors themselves.
But it doesn't mean you shut down everyone.
Absolutely. There's legitimate need right here in San Diego, and we saw studies coming out of UCSD and Dr. Grant's research program that show that nothing on the market helps patients with multiple sclerosis better than smoked cannabis.
You mentioned the Attorney General in California. I want to read a statement that her office has issued with regard to the federal crackdown. She says, Californians overwhelmingly support the compassionate use of medical marijuana for the ill. We should all be troubled, however, by the proliferation of gangs and criminal enterprises that seek to exploit this law by illegally cultivating and trafficking marijuana. While there are definite ambiguities in state law that must be resolved either by the state legislature or the courts, an overly broad federal enforcement campaign will make it more difficult for legitimate patients to access physician-recommended medicine in California. So, Eugene, is that happening now? What is happening with people who want to get medical marijuana, but this crackdown has happened? Are they still able to get access to this?
What we're seeing is an overstepping of their authority by the federal government. The California Attorney General, at the time Attorney General Brown, created clear guidelines, and Kamala Harris, our new Attorney General, came out in clear support of patients who legitimately use this medicine. And if we have the federal government stop putting pressure on cities and municipalities locally, then we see that regulations are created and crafted that protect the communities, that prevent this trafficking that and other concerns that communities may have.
We'll let people at home know, too, that we did invite Laura Duffy to be here. Her office says that she cannot comment on this, obviously, because it will be before the courts. Last question, Eugene. What are people doing now in San Diego County who have these medical marijuana cards, but perhaps are having a tough time finding a location, a dispensary that's still open?
Unfortunately, patients are starting to turn to alternative means. And when we see dispensaries closing down in communities, we see crime going up. When we have safe, legitimate access for patients, we see crime going down. In fact, in San Diego, the statistics show that crime has gone down since dispensaries have opened.
Eugene Davidovich, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, Joanne.
San Diego's surfing culture catches an academic wave. Coming up on our business tech desk, a look at how a lifelong passion for surfing has led to a new research center at San Diego State. This is KPBS Evening Edition.
Tonight on KPBS at 8. The most outlandish, kitschy, and downright morbidly fascinating antiques and collectibles of the last decade on a special edition of Antiques Roadshow. Then at 9, Will Ferrell, the Mark Twain Prize, celebrates the work of the popular comedian from the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. And at 10:30, in an encore presentation, the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor goes to Tina Fey. That's all tonight on KPBS.
Meet a man who was crazy enough to think he could change the world. And did. Steve Jobs. One Last Thing. Wednesday, November 2nd at 10. Only on PBS.
KPBS Evening Edition is made possible by Joan and Erwin Jacobs and by
While trick-or-treaters go door-to-door tonight, homeless sex offenders have been ordered off the streets. Police call it Operation Boo. Parole agents have set up centers while transient sex offenders can spend, or rather will spend the evening. Now, earlier in this broadcast, of course, we gave you a look at Broken Souls, our three-part series on sex trafficking in San Diego. Right now at the Evening Edition Roundtable, Joanne is joined by a detective who's working to get young girls off the street.
Underage girls are being sold for sex right here in San Diego County, some as young as 12 years old. This week, KPBS is broadcasting a three-part series on the issue by investigative reporter Amitha Sharma. Joining us with more insight to this local problem is Detective James Hunter. He's with the San Diego Police Department and works on the Innocence Loss Task Force. Thank you so much, Detective, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
How big a problem is this in our county?
You know, it's kind of, we're trying to weigh the difference of whether how big the problem is or if it's something that we've just really become very aware of in the last few years. It is an issue, but we are doing our absolute best at tackling the crime every single day.
So what happened in the last few years that sort of alerted you to this issue?
Well, when I first came to the Vice Operations Unit, where I currently work now as a detective, you know, my first case that I did involved pimping. And when that happened, I just kind of latched onto it and realized a crime that I really didn't know much about, even in the many years I was as a San Diego police officer. And the biggest concern to me was how young the victims were attached to this crime.
I mentioned 12 years old. 12-year-old girls are involved in this?
12 to 13 years old is normally the average age nationwide that the girls enter into this type of, you know, victimization by their pimps. Even if you talk to some of the older girls who might still be working out there on the street that might be 30 years old, most of them started when they were 12, 13, or 14 years old.
So how are pimps recruiting these very young girls?
Well, there's several ways. Most of the time, you're going to see it happening online. So any of your social network sites, Facebook and MySpace, is very huge. In fact, I don't think there's a single investigation that I've conducted where Facebook or MySpace was not involved. Secondly, it's just out on the street or out in person through friends, local shopping malls. And now, unfortunately, the biggest concern is the recruiting off of our own school campuses, both middle school and high school.
What is it that these pimps are saying to girls? How is it, first of all, what makes a girl vulnerable to this? And then how are these pimps ultimately really, we called it a sex trade, sort of almost like sex slaves. How are they able to keep them in this?
Well, what you have to understand is that a majority of the victims are very easily influenced. They may have low self-esteem. Their family structure is normally not very well. Maybe they have a family that is not in prison, or they're within the social systems themselves. So they're looking for love, basically. And when you have a male figure that comes to them and offers them any type of love or any type of caring whatsoever, they're going to latch on to that. And then that will eventually turn into a relationship where the young girl will potentially fall in love. And then he will do a 180-degree turn and start manipulating her and brainwashing her into being a victim of this crime, all to make money for him.
So what does the law say right now? How does it protect these girls, and how does it go after the pimps?
Well, you have two sides of the law. You have federal law and you have state law. On the federal side, they will take the cases that are any of the victims that are under the age of 18 years old. The state side will do both juvenile and adult cases. It really depends on what the specific charges are, but the current sentencing structures are anywhere from 3 years up to 20 years to life in prison for these pimps.
So how does your task force try to infiltrate these kinds of networks or these groups, or how do you go in and try to take the girl out and arrest the pimp?
Yeah, well, the first thing and the first and foremost thing that we have to do is we actually have to locate the young girl, whether that's information through their own personal family or whether that's us just doing searches online for girls that are posted on the internet sites for purposes of prostitution. When we find someone that we believe is underage, then we will target them. We will go out and actually try and find them, locate them, rescue them, and then try our best to build a relationship with them to get them to want to discuss what happened to them, and so that therefore we can go after their predator.
Because there is help for these girls, isn't there? There are resources available for them?
Absolutely, there are resources. There's resources here both locally and also nationwide for them.
Detective Hunter, thank you so much for being here. And of course, we want to let the people at home know that there's more about this series, more about these stories on our website at kpbs.org.
Thank you.
San Diego has long been the center of California's surf culture, and a researcher here is riding the swell. Jess Ponting has turned his lifelong passion into an academic subject at San Diego State University. KPBS business reporter Eric Anderson says the Center for Surf Research has its eye on a multi-billion-dollar international industry.
The marine layer drops a light coat of mist on the cars at the Tourmaline parking lot in Pacific Beach. The break just offshore is familiar territory for San Diego's surfers.
Tourmaline is a longboarding spot. It's been a surfing park since the mid-1960s.
Jess Ponting points to the gray skies and choppy waters. The lifelong surfer likes to ride the waves about 3 times a week. He says these conditions may be unappealing to swimmers, but not to people looking for a wave. Surfers gather just offshore nearly every day. They sit on their boards just outside the break until they see a good swell.
Then you paddle like hell and catch the thing. You've got to get your board up to the same kind of speed as the wave that's approaching and jump to your feet and ride the thing.
And while there are plenty of people who surf here in Southern California, what Dr. Ponting is interested in is people who actually take their surfboards with them and travel to a different location. It's that travel that generates an economic impact worth billions worldwide. Ponting came to San Diego State University to teach a sustainable tourism class, but after a short time, he began pushing for more. His drive led to the creation of the Center for Surf Research in SDSU's Hospitality and Tourism School. Tourism and surfing are natural partners, according to Surfer's Journal, a magazine that's chronicled the sport for 2 decades.
Our readers, we just did a survey on this, and our readers travel out of the country to surf 2 times a year in the majority. So like 70% of our readers travel outside the country to surf twice a year. I think that's probably more than the general populace.
Being from San Diego, I love Baja, California, and have traveled extensively all over Baja to surf different breaks down there.
Beth Slavkov gets out on the ocean a couple of days a week, and she enjoys surfing along the Mexican coast.
Just camping along the beach and taking dirt roads and finding little treats of waves here and there, and it's just wonderful.
Jess Ponting says camping on the beach in Baja is just one kind of excursion. He says people travel thousands of miles to unique surfing locations. Ponting says some estimates put the value of surfing-related tourism at $7 billion a year worldwide. He's currently studying the impact of surf tourism at Uluwatu, a busy Indonesian surf location.
And we figured that there's somewhere in the realm of 250,000 surfers visiting to surf that wave each year, and that's just one break on one island in one country that has over 2,000 islands.
Ponting says studying an industry that's scattered around the globe is challenging but rewarding. He says he's anxious to start looking at some of the bigger issues.
Seeing how the imagery that surfers carry around in their heads of that perfect wave in the perfect location, which is the imagery that drives most of the surf retailing industry, what does that image mean for the people who live in those destinations? We carry this dream around with us in our heads when we travel, and we overlay it on different destinations.
Ponting hopes SDSU students will take advantage of the research opportunities at the center. He wants to put a study abroad program in place for next year.
That's KPBS business reporter Eric Anderson. Professor Jess Ponting hopes the research will help governments around the world manage and preserve their surfing resources. A recap of our top stories and your thoughts about an effort to repeal the California Dream Act coming up in just a moment. This is KPBS Evening Edition.
Tuesday at 10 on KPBS.
Because of our members, it's possible for everyone around us to discover something new every day, right here on KPBS. And in doing so, our members make this a better and stronger community. Thanks for your support.
Has anyone actually read this thing? I don't mean cast your eye over it, I mean read it.
Yes, I believe I've read it.
Take another look at the bottom of page 8.
You're gonna have to choose sides one day, you know? Remember, people get killed in the middle of the road. A masterpiece contemporary.
Sunday at 9 on KPBS.
Welcome back to the Public Square on KPBS Evening Edition. Last week we told you about an effort to repeal the California Dream Act. That's a new law that would allow illegal immigrants to apply for state aid to go to college. Well, there's now an effort to repeal the act, and it's creating a lot of conversation on our website, kpbs.org. Dula Rick says bills and initiatives which help human beings are fought against tooth and nail as if their lives depend on it. Bills and initiatives which fund killing machines and expensive weapons programs are not fought at all. And P. King Duck, a frequent contributor to our online comments, writes, I support anyone who wants to further their education here and then remain in the USA as a valuable contributing member of society, regardless of where they were born or what the color of their skin is. Well, I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. You can weigh in by following us on Twitter, liking us on Facebook, and of course you can email us at news@kpbs.org. And now Dwayne has a recap of tonight's top stories.
A San Diego Unified School Trustee is calling for pay cuts, benefit changes, and a parcel tax to balance the budget. The school board will meet to discuss options tomorrow. And district officials say Patrick Henry High School is getting flooded with hate calls after students elected a lesbian couple as homecoming king and queen. You can watch and comment on any of the stories you saw tonight on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great night.